Happy Monday, everybody. We begin Civic Media Mornings momentarily.
Week 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Joining us on a Monday. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Good morning. I'm Brian Noonan, and I hope you are staying warm. Jamie, it is an Arctic blast. Dare we say a polar vortex has descended on the Midwest, and we are caught in the middle of it.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to be outside already this morning, just stay inside where it's nice and warm. For a lot of people, you're already off because of Martin Luther King Day. So that is the good news, because we do have a cold weather advisory that runs through noon today for large portions of the Civic Media Radio Network, including the cities of Madison, Green Bay, and Milwaukee. We are talking wind chills this morning of 20 to 30 below. Temperatures will remain in the teens below zero into tomorrow. Now, we could add some more light snow to the mix. And then here's the best part about this.
Yes.
This isn't even as cold as it could possibly get this week, because there's another chance of snow tomorrow night into Wednesday, followed by additional Arctic air, which could be colder later this week than it is right now. Welcome to winter in the Midwest. Why do we do this to ourselves year after year?
Every year we say the same thing every year. And you know what it is? Because I've read all the news out of Florida, and I'm like, I can't. I'll
can't do that either.
I'll deal with this nightmare and be cold,
right,
and stay in the house rather than live with some of that craziness down there.
Yeah. And honestly, I was thinking about it driving in this morning. I kind of wish we could spend our Monday talking about the cold, the Bears being as much as I dislike it, a very worthy NFC North opponent going forward after last night's game. I wish we could spend the morning talking about Matt LaFleur's extension with the Green Bay Packers.
So many fun things I could tell you all about my Mardi Gras decorations going up and just just so much stuff. No, we don't have time for that.
We're in this fresh hell where we have to talk about retaliatory tariffs on allies that are going to hurt Americans. We have to talk about deploying our own troops against our citizens, the stripping away of the freedom of the press. Woo! Welcome to a Monday. Aren't we just a ball full of joy?
It is fun. I know we want to get into this, the European nations, but can I give a quick civics lesson? I know we like to do.
Absolutely. I love those.
I'm sure, like you, Jamie, I'm tired of people saying, well, the tariffs are benefiting us, when in reality, you and I are the ones who are getting stuck with these tariffs. So this is from govfacts.com, and this is the definition of a tariff. A tariff is a tax that governments place on goods coming into their country. Everybody understands that part. You might also hear them called duties or custom duties. Trade experts use those terms interchangeably. While most tariffs target imports, governments can also tax exports, but that happens far less often. Now, the fun begins when we say that we also, scroll. Here we go. So the most immediate effect of a tariff is simple. This is where everybody needs to listen, because this is where people get confused. It makes imported products more expensive for Americans to buy. The basic function drives all the complex economic and political consequences that follow. So for everybody who goes, hey, we're making so much money and it's great for us. No, you're not. No, you're not. Everything that they put a tariff on costs you more. And now that Trump is talking about retaliatory tariffs against our allies, can I throw allies in there and just remind people that all the countries that he's talking about, Britain, Denmark, France, Finland, Germany, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, allies. Allies.
By the way, have you gotten your tariff check yet? Has that come in the mail?
Jamie, I'm still busy counting all the money from
Okay.
my Doge check. I
Oh,
had
I
them
gotcha.
delivered to
I
me in
gotcha.
rolls of pennies, so it's taking me a while to count it.
I understand. Now, if you haven't been following along this weekend, there's a lot of consternation behind closed doors in Brussels. And you mentioned the countries that this administration wants to put retaliatory tariffs on. But diplomats from all 27 European Union countries are weighing that retaliation, including the tariffs on U.S. companies. So what we're getting into is a trade war with our allies. So that should be neat. And
Wait,
of course,
the companies, the U.S. companies, are going to have to pay more for stuff coming in,
Right.
and then they're
Right.
going to have to pay more for stuff going out.
that is correct. Now,
And-
obviously, the European countries are trying to avoid any sort of full-out trade war because it's not good for their people. It's not good for the American people. It's not good for businesses across the world. So they are trying to avoid it. In fact, France is trying to urge a tougher response that could hit American tech firms. Some of the other countries involved in these conversations want to keep the temperature down a little bit and preserve the diplomatic channels. I'm not
Jamie,
sure that's going to happen.
What brought this on? Why would the United States of
Well-
America suddenly decide to look at our allies and say, "Yeah, we're gonna put some tariffs
Yeah.
on you. We're gonna start a trade war"? Did they say something or do
Well,
something
it
that upset the
turns-
administration?
It turns out that we have a president who likes to, decide policy by going to social media. So if you didn't see what happened this weekend, he went to Truth Social and a very lengthy post that it was Saturday morning.
Surprise.
Yep, it was Saturday morning when this went out. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll give you
Please
some
don't.
highlights. Now after centuries, and this is from President Trump's Truth Social post on Saturday, now after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is not a thing that Denmark can do about it. Only the United States of America under President Donald J. Trump can play in this game. It goes on, and he says, it is imperative that in order to protect global peace and security, strong measures be taken so that this potentially perilous situation end quickly and without question. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all of the above-mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America.
Technically, those were
there's
not
more.
above mentioned.
There's more. There's more going on in there.
Yeah.
He goes on to give another date of June 1st of 2026, saying the tariff will be increased then to 25%. The tariff will be due and payable until such time as a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland.
Can I hate to do this, Jamie. I'm going to throw in
Okay.
a couple of facts.
Okay. All
If
right.
that's okay.
We don't like facts around these parts.
Well, we do. We enjoy a
We
fact.
do love
a
facts.
Good
I love a
fact.
good fact.
And this is not my truth. This is the truth. This is the truth. This whole thing about world peace depending on it and only we can protect. We have a large military base in Greenland, which Greenland and Denmark have said you can expand it at any time if needed. Denmark has also allowed us or made provisions where if we are in need of any of their natural resources, they will give it to us at a fair price. But the military aspect of this is what the administration, I believe, hopes no one will remember. That Denmark has been cooperating and Greenland has been a good neighbor forever. They allow us to have a military presence there. If we wanted to increase it, if there was so much inherent danger, we have the capacity to protect ourselves in Greenland with no restrictions. But that's neither here nor there in our administration's land lust. Basically, they want I believe that the administration wants to act like the former Soviet Union and just gobble up as much land as possible.
Right. And this is the argument that some U.S. lawmakers are trying to make. I mean, you've maybe stepped over the line just a bit when other Republicans are like, this is a bad idea. This is not a great idea, and are even questioning the motives. Now,
do you believe anything that they say, though?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not.
thank you.
I mean, they have acted in a way that has basically allowed this administration to do exactly what we're seeing play out, right? Now, we're in such a predicament here in Greenland with all of the rhetoric and all of the buying of Greenland and the military action that there's going to be an emergency EU summit this week. Diplomatic talks with NATO are underway, and legal and economic consequences are also being discussed right now. For Europe, this isn't really just about Greenland. It's about sovereignty. It's about alliance credibility, and it's whether longstanding partnerships can actually even withstand any sort of pressure from this current administration. Now, what I think is also interesting is there's new polling out. And okay, hear me out for a minute, because I know how some people feel about the polling, right?
Yeah.
But polling came out just yesterday, and it actually shows that there's overwhelming opposition among Americans of all political persuasions to use any sort of military force to seize Greenland. And the opposition to military action, very bipartisan. This is not just Democrats. This is not just independents. Republicans are also weighing in on this and completely opposed as average voters. And, there's obviously some public resistance to a Greenland takeover, maybe a little stronger than this administration actually thought it was going to be, perhaps.
Yeah, and I'm like you. I don't put all the credence into the polls, but when you have numbers like that, you have to say, okay, even if that's not the actual number, that's a pretty good indicator of how the public is really feeling about this. Yeah. And I have to keep going back to Congress abdicating all their power and allowing this administration to listen. The fact that nobody's screaming and yelling about the president selling off the oil that we swiped from Venezuela and putting it in an offshore account in Qatar, who just gave him a flying palace. I'm in Crazy Town now, and nobody's giving me directions on how to get out of Crazy Town. I just keep driving in a circle, and
it's
even though I'm turning left, I'm going right. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like getting stuck on a roundabout. You just can't get off of it. No, what I love about this is when I said some Republicans support it, some of them do not support buying Greenland. What I think is interesting, but they might, and some of them support buying Greenland, some of them don't. A lot of them just oppose the force of it all. So others are rejecting the premise entirely. So if you were hoping for this Congress to actually do something helpful, you're probably not going to get it. What I think, though, is this obsession with buying or taking over Greenland is absolutely insane. It really, truly is. And every elected Republican who is representing this country, and this is why I keep bringing this up, they know it. They know that this obsession is absolutely insane, but none of them are going to say any word about it. And they're going to try to avoid upsetting the president because they don't want a mean tweet to come out about them. And honestly, at this point, when we're starting to get into tariffs against our allies, I think it's time for the Supreme Court to also slam the door on all of this tariff madness and actually rule in a way that is beneficial to the American people.
There's
and
not
to
a
this
chance,
country.
Not a chance that the John Roberts Court is going to do that. They've already granted
Agreed.
him immunity. They already have said this guy can do whatever he wants. Well, they said it any president, but we know who it was
right.
for.
It was good timing. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
It was amazing timing how we knew. Yeah, you had to be living under a rock if you didn't know what that actually meant at the time.
Right. So we ended the week asking, what can we do? We start the week ending, what can we do? We do it every day. Listen, but maybe there's why do I say a glimmer of hope? Ron Johnson is talking to Democrats. What's he talking about? We'll cover it in a minute.
Insurance, because more fresh hell awaits us as we try to take care of our health on this Monday morning. We're just super uplifting today.
Yeah.
It's 6:19
How you doing?
right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX Madison, where democracy meets dairy.
You can support animals in need in our community when you shop at Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Shop gently used and new clothing and accessories, home goods, toys, furniture, and a whole lot more. All proceeds from the Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores support the comfort and care of animals in need across the county. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift for more information.
It's the Eco Minute, powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. Neighbors in Kewaunee County upset after large amounts of manure washed off of nearby farm fields and contaminated a local stream that feeds drinking water wells. The DNR says it happened during recent heavy rains, and the agency is monitoring the situation. It's not considered a best practice to spread animal waste on farm fields during the winter when there are no plants to absorb it, although some farms are permitted by the state to do it anyway. The EPA is going to stop considering public health benefits when evaluating air pollution limits. For decades, the agency has calculated the cost savings of avoided hospital visits and premature deaths that come with stronger air pollution rules, but now the agency will no longer consider those calculations that have long been used to justify air pollution protections. Right now on the Defender podcast, how one small Wisconsin community defeated a data center. Listen at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Reading aloud to children sharpens their listening skills, expands their vocabularies, and nurtures a lifelong love of reading. That's why Reading is Fundamental, the nation's leading children's literacy nonprofit, offers free monthly read-alouds by popular authors through its Rally to Read program. Visit rallytoread.org to watch the read-alouds and discover exciting reading activities for school and home. Visit rallytoread.org today.
Let's talk rechargeable battery safety with tips from the National Fire Protection Association. Only buy products with a safety certification mark. Charge devices on hard surfaces. Don't use off-brand cords and always unplug.
15 seconds.
It's 6:22 right now. We hope that your morning is off to a great start. Thank you so much for joining us. Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. We thank you if you're listening in Wausau this morning on WXCO or in Richland Center on WRCE. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Kudos to the Boyquarium for trying to level us out with a little, it's like we're in an elevator. That was very nice.
That was the goal. That was the goal there.
Goodness.
We need a little elevator music.
If you are listening to us anywhere on the Civic Media Radio Network, you are probably under a winter weather advisory. It goes till noon today. Mm-hmm. If you don't have to go out this morning, and it's easy to say, but don't go out. It's very cold. In Madison right now, -5 is the air temp.
Yeah. It's brutal. When your face freezes on impact, you know that the nostrils get cold. It's hard to breathe. You know you've hit the point of no return in winter weather. That's for sure.
Wind chill in Madison 25 below zero. So
yeah, that's not fun.
No.
Hey, we've got a comment from Lynn from Golden Valley over on our text line, listening on the tap in Eau Claire. She says that her suggestion would be for the country, for Trump to trade California for Greenland because, well, he wants Greenland. He hates California. Problem solved. California becomes the new Denmark. So thank you for the comment, Lynn. And if you want to chime in this morning, it's a great state.
Other than taxes, having lived there for a while, other than the taxes, the weather is great. There's snow and mountains if you want them. There's beaches
beautiful.
If you want them. It's fantastic.
Love California. Love it.
A lot of great Mexican food.
If you want to chime in this morning, 1-855-752-4842. Call, text us. That number again, 1-855-75-CIVIC. Now, we gotta move on this morning and talk about Ron Johnson because, well, he's making some news this morning, Brian. He has decided that he wants to discuss with Democrats how he can provide some sort of assistance to those who lost their Affordable Care Act health insurance tax credits at the end of 2025. It's like political positions colliding with real world consequences. Right
well,
he
also said limited limit. He's got to throw that in because he has been against ACA 4 or Obamacare a long time. He argues that the reason our healthcare costs are going up are because of Obamacare, which doesn't seem right. But that's his truth. That's Ron Johnson's truth. It's not the truth. It's Ron Johnson's truth. So it's good that they're talking, and because we talked about this last week, the number of Wisconsinites who did not sign up because the costs were too high has escalated drastically.
Yeah, in fact, in Wisconsin alone, marketplace enrollment is down by roughly 17,000 people. If you look at it nationally, that's about 800,000 fewer people who have selected marketplace plans compared to this time last year. And so obviously the loss of subsidies is having an impact across the country, but what Ron Johnson is proposing isn't a full-blown restoration of the subsidy. So don't get too excited. He's doing the bare minimum here. In fact, it's a much narrower fix. It really aimed at people who earn too much to qualify for what they consider to be the traditional ACA help, but not enough to really absorb any of these premiums that are skyrocketing right now on their own. For some families, those costs can reach tens of thousands of dollars a year. And, then you get Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's on the opposite side of things. Now, she says they're open to some sorts of discussion, which is good. At least the two sides are coming together. But, she's also pointing out that Congress already had a chance to extend these subsidies. And at the time, they refused to take it.
Right. And so, that's when Derek Van Orden, Republican representative from right here, he voted with the Democrats. He was one of the 17 Republicans, House Republicans, that went over and said, we got to extend this. So I always want to give him props for that, for at least realizing his constituents need health insurance.
Well, the bad part about that is if you look at what he's actually supporting, it would not actually help anybody who has any sort of current medical issue. Right. He made the vote, but then when you really look at the depth of what that vote is, it's not actually going to help or impact as many people as it appears, and perhaps that's it.
It's not going to pass the Senate anyway, so
right.
it doesn't. It doesn't really.
You
matter.
save face, you make the vote, you help yourself when it counts, but you're actually not going to do much to help your constituents.
Jamie, may I remind you that the president unleashed a beautiful health care bill the other day, which is going to give us all $2,000. To cover our health care, which, if I remember correctly, will cover the average family for about 18 days. So let's not forget what our benevolent leader is doing for us. Allegedly.
Sure. So we get another check in the mail, too. Roger from Stevens Point chiming in this morning says, Ron. Show us your homework, proving your points, because your real home is in Florida. Thank you so much for the text this morning, Roger. 1-855-752-4842. Call or text us if you want to chime in on the conversation this morning. I mean, it just goes to show that I don't know how serious they are, even though the words keep coming out of their mouth that they want to help with subsidies and they want to save the ACA. That's never been the intention. Never been the intention.
No.
They've been trying to get rid of it since the very first night.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Since the minute it passed, they've been telling us we've got a plan. We're ready to go. It's going to be the best healthcare you've ever seen. Okay, you've had over a decade. Let's what's going on, fellas?
And this isn't really a debate about how high the costs are. I mean, that's pretty undebatable right now. Everybody can agree that the costs are too high. It's really a fight over who's going to get the help and who really deserves the help is essentially what this is. Yep. And maybe they'll find common ground. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, like a lot of things happening right now. But one can only hope. That's your glimmer of hope this morning. One can only hope that they get it together. Sorry, that's all I got. Thank you, Boyquarium. It is 6:29 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. 1,500 soldiers stand by for possible Minnesota deployment. We'll talk about it more on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX, keeping the capital caffeinated. Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
The U.S. corn market, about the only commodity that's been able to pull a little bit of a bullish trend from time to time. I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Martin Luther King Monday. Markets closed today. Just a quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news. But that doesn't mean that Wisconsin farmers are very happy with the prices they're seeing. John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, agrees that the U.S. has helped that corn market to get to an exceptionally low competitive price. And he said that's really important as we see South America begin their harvest, starting with Argentina.
Argentina will be our first competitor on the export market. So that dryness in Argentina may be something that could at least maybe give us some boost in this corn market. We are the cheapest corn in the world. I continue to see demand stay strong. It's only going to get stronger with these price moves because U.S. corn is just so competitive and realistically nobody's going to match this now for at least the next handful of months.
John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend. Like I said, it's a Martin Luther King Monday. Markets are idle. I'll give you an update on where they stood Friday next.
Before it's too late and white mold becomes a problem, you need to ask your seed dealer for heads-up seed treatment. When raising soybeans in the Midwest, you know the risk of being caught unprepared. As heard on Ag PhD, there are several steps you can take prior to planting for a successful management plan against white mold. Compatible and cost-effective season-long protection starts now by asking your seed dealer to apply Heads Up to your bean seed order. For more information, visit headsupst.com.
Join the fabulous Farm Babe Pam Yankee at the 2026 Corn Soy Expo on January 29th at the Kalahari Resort in the Wisconsin Dells. Pam will be broadcasting on Thursday at 10 a.m. with Computer Financial located in booth 424. Leave with more knowledge and connections with the visit with Computer Financial. At 12:30 p.m., the broadcast continues with the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, booth 613. Learn how your checkoff dollars are going to work for you. For more information on Corn Soy Expo or to make plans to attend, visit cornsoyexpo.org.
On Friday in Chicago, both barrel and block cheese prices remained unchanged. The AA butter gained 4 cents to close the week at $135.5 per pound. On the closing bell Friday, March corn was up 4.5, $4.24 3/4. December up 3, $4.49 3/4. March soybeans 4 3/4 cents higher, $10.57 3/4. With November beans also up 4 3/4 cents to $10.69 a bushel. The March wheat was up 7.5, closed at $5.18. July new crop up 7. $5.40.5. February class 3 milk that goes into cheese up 7, $15.07 a hundredweight. March was up 6 at $15.15 a hundredweight. Again, a reminder, Martin Luther King Monday, no trading happening in Chicago. There's your quick snapshot on what's happening in the news that influences your markets on a Monday. I'm Pam Yankee.
Construction barrels bloom every spring. So do opinions. WMDX, guiding Madison through life's most predictable surprises.
Some areas of blowing snow right away this morning, becoming mostly sunny this afternoon. Our high today 4 above, but that wind west at 10 to 20 is going to keep the wind chill below 0 all day. Tonight, partly cloudy, 4 below. Tomorrow, sunshine with a high right around 12. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Outside now, it's 2 below 0.
Pete Schwaba.
Aaron, did you put a Christmas tree up this year? A really little one. Mine is still up and it's depressing. I went through a period where I would keep it up through most of January, kind of in protest of winter. Like I wanted it to still seem like the holidays.
At my parents' house, it was always an ordeal. And so we would just leave it up and put off taking all that back down.
And you just got to make a clean break. It's like a breakup. Get it over with. Don't drag it out. Don't try to remain friends with Christmas. Take the stuff down.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
When a warrior faces adversity, he fights through it. He finds a way. Freedom isn't free. Rolling strong. Belief. Believe you can, and you will.
Wheelchairs for Warriors provides mobility solutions to veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty. Join the mission and visit wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
15 seconds.
6:45 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. It is Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Welcome. Remember, winter weather advisory in place until noon for most of the listening area of the Civic Media Radio Network. You heard a way too chipper meteorologist telling us it's 2 below with a wind chill of 25 below. That's more of a dour delivery, I think. If I was the station consultant, I'd go, tone down the chipper a little bit.
Can I tell you that I've known that meteorologist, Sean Cable, for many, many, many years. When I was producing TV news, he was my morning meteorologist when I very first started.
Put it on the list, boys.
And he's always, thank you for my flow chart, updating that this morning. He's absolutely incredible, and I've never heard the man in a bad mood, ever in my entire life.
That's
in the decades that I've known him.
Sometimes you need to be in a little... not a bad mood, but just he's so happy about it, and everybody else is like, where are we at? You know who else has that feeling? What are we doing? What kind of world are we living in? Everybody in Minnesota right now, because the reports are coming out that 1,500 active duty military members are on call and on standby, ready to be possibly deployed in Minnesota. And these are Armed Forces members from the 11th Airborne Division. These men and women are not slouches. So we are now living in a country where there is a possibility that the U.S. military will be turned against its own citizens. And if you think that's hyperbole, you're mistaken. And if this doesn't scare the hell out of you, you're really not paying attention.
And we'll be clear here this morning. Now, officials are saying deployment of the 11th Airborne Division is not imminent, but possible roles that they could provide include crowd control or law enforcement support, which would be very similar to what happened in L.A. last summer. But again...
but that didn't go over very well in L.A., did it?
No,
and isn't that
not.
what the National Guard is for?
I think so. I mean, okay. I would think so. And I'm pretty sure if you listen to Governor Tim Walz, they've already made sure that their National Guard from the state of Minnesota is active and ready if needed to come in. But, it just goes to show that we have hit a time period where the oversight, and I know we keep saying this, but this cannot be overlooked. We live in a time when the oversight is just completely gone, when this is an administration that feels like they are allowed to do whatever they want. Now, the White House
they are.
Essentially, yes. You're not wrong. I'm not arguing.
I know you're not.
The White House says the Pentagon routinely prepares options for presidential decisions. What? These just feel like they're saying words to us at this point. And of course, there's been a surge of federal agents into Minnesota. Some FBI personnel. You've had more ICE agents, DHS agents. And so the National Guard is staged. They have not been deployed into the city streets, though. Officials say they're not, but they are ready to, I should say, they are ready to support public safety and protect peaceful assembly. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry called the standby order intimidation and said it would be unconstitutional to deploy the troops. I mean, obviously, they're not listening to the governor. They're not listening to the mayor, those in Washington, D.C. They've got the governor and the mayor under investigation at this point, which is another piece to this entire story that we can.
And you know why, Jamie? They did the unthinkable. They questioned the administration.
Sure.
And so now I watched all the Sunday morning shows yesterday because I really don't like relaxing on a Sunday. I like to start myself off with a little rage and coffee for my breakfast.
Get the blood pressure up. It's good for the day before you go into a football game later in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, Mayor Fry was on there, and he said they have not, for all the talk, they have not been served with a subpoena yet. If he is served with a subpoena, he will comply. He made that perfectly clear. And he stands behind what he said last week about ICE getting out of Minneapolis because his primary job is to keep the citizens of Minneapolis safe. And he believes that's what he said, if you only watch the news, you think all of Minneapolis is a war zone. Just like you mentioned LA last year. The problem in LA was kept in a one block square. And it's the same way in Minneapolis. Most of the city is not having these issues, but it's where the issues are is where ICE is.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and here's the other thing to remember, because this story has been unraveling and unfolding so quickly. Don't forget that last week, Minnesota, as well as the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, filed a lawsuit challenging the federal immigration operation. A federal judge punted on it at the time, needing more evidence. Now, over the weekend, another federal judge actually restricted how the agents can respond to the peaceful protests, limiting detentions and crowd control tactics. DHS criticized that ruling, and said that it will not change their operations. ICE says it's expanded teams due to safety concerns. So really what this tells me is that they are going to look at the federal judge and say, we see your orders, we raise you, and we're going to continue to do whatever the hell we want right now, is essentially what I'm seeing.
It's what you're seeing because it's what's happening. So believe your eyes. Don't get gaslit by, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem or the administration or anything. And Mark texted in. He mentioned this story, which infuriated me. I can't believe ICE was in Minneapolis. They went and ate at a Mexican restaurant, and then arrested the staff. I was going to say you can't make this up because it's real, and I don't know. I'm at the point now where I don't know what's happening anymore. And I know I'm not the only one. I know if you're listening, you're probably thinking the same thing. This doesn't make sense.
It's cruelty. It's about the cruelty of it all. It's about dehumanizing anybody who is not like you, and it's cruelty. That's essentially what it is.
You're exactly right, and I don't want to get hyperbolic or sensational, but or draw comparisons that people have made. Do your own history lesson.
Yeah.
Go back and see if what's happening here parallels anything else, and then draw your own conclusions. There are parallels to other moments in time in history, and it's matching up horrifyingly well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have friends, good friends who still live in the Twin Cities, and just to hear some of the things that are happening about the stopping and checking of IDs, anybody that doesn't look like them. Mark is also chiming in, hearing some of the same things from relatives who live in Minneapolis, just about the tenacity as well. Here's the other thing I'm going to say, the tenacity of the folks in Minneapolis and the residents there.
Yeah.
And the peaceful protests, the intense cold that they're enduring to be out there to basically protect themselves and their neighbors. There's something special about what Minneapolis brings. Whether you agree with the protest, whether you don't, I think it's a whole different discussion about the protection of people. And it's go back to the Midwest nice, whatever you want. I think it's decency and it's humanity that you're seeing in these protests.
You're exactly right. There's a ICE detention center just outside of Chicago, and it was cold here this weekend, and people were out in droves once again protesting there too. So there are, for as jaded as I can be and as cynical as I can be, there are people who do care and are out there doing things. And but you hope it's not going to be futile, but it sometimes feels like a futile effort when you're going up against an administration that seems to have absolutely no consequences attached to any actions.
Yeah.
And so it's a tad, and I know you're like, Brian, it's Martin Luther King Day. Can we focus on some?
We're going to do
good
that
things?
too.
Yes, we're going to do that. Can we talk about anything other than how depressing the week is going to start? God, I wish. Jamie, you said this at the beginning of the show. I wish we could just talk about something else.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
every day, every hour, basically.
Well, and that's also the point, right? That's the point, to flood the zone, to make
Overwhelm.
sure that we are overwhelmed, that we can't keep up, because in the
Right.
middle of not being able to keep up, oh, by the way, you're going to unleash a healthcare plan that really doesn't do anything.
Nothing.
Because that's what they did last week, right? So that's the plan as to what all of this is. One of the things I will say is, I was talking to a good friend who lives in the Twin Cities this weekend, and she's an artist, and there's been different protests around the city, and there was one this weekend, and she actually showed me photos of it and texted me photos where these artists just made these amazing murals, and they were carrying them, and it was very peaceful and very, very Minneapolis-esque.
Yes.
I said to her, are you worried? And she said, of course we're worried. But she said, we also have the courts on our side. She said, everybody out there keeps saying, look what happened in LA. Look what happened in Portland. Look what happened in Chicago. They eventually were made to turn back, and we are not giving up until they're made to turn back. So there is that.
That's the key to battling. We're all allowed to have a couple minutes to just go, oh, woe is us. But then you do have to regroup. You do have to keep speaking out in a peaceful manner, but you gotta let somebody know what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and that you don't stand for this. And if you do stand for this, well, they tried to have one of those rallies in Minneapolis the other day too, and that didn't turn out very well because not a lot of people showed up. I think they said a couple hundred.
Couple
Maybe.
hundred showed up, and then the peaceful protesters basically overtook.
Ran them out, yes.
They did. And I love Minneapolis because they were using, it was so cold. They were actually using water balloons to pelt them.
Yes.
Well, you know what happens to water when it's this cold. That could not have felt very good to be pelted with a half-frozen water balloon.
And they were also using silly string, which I thought was hilarious. I was like, oh, now that's the way to protest. Squirt somebody with a little silly string.
It's hard to not smile a little bit in the midst of it when you're using silly string and slushy water balloons as crowd control in light of what the administration would like to do instead.
Yeah, so keep up, keep letting your voice be heard. And listen, there's a lot more. Now, maybe you're home today with your kids and you're thinking, what am I going to do with the kids? They're off for Martin Luther King Day, and I don't want them on this. There is a new sweet spot, according to a study, for how long your children should be on social media. So we're going to share that with you. We're going to tell you what you could do as a parent to try to keep things on an even keel, so your kids don't have too much.
That's hard.
It is very hard, and I will tell you this. And here's a tease. There is something that came out of this study that I was 100% shocked by, and I think you will be too.
What I think is interesting is this was a study that was only done with kids. I think it'd be interesting to do the same thing with adults, because I think we could use a little decompression, uncoupling of the social media
adults
too,
are a
right?
lost cause. Where you got to get them when they're young, Jamie. You got to keep the kids.
You do, absolutely. It is 6:48 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I am Brian Noonan, and we will be back with that story and so much more on Civic Media Mornings.
"77 square miles surrounded by reality, and we cover all of it." This is 92.7 WMDX Madison and on the Civic Media app.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're proud to offer remodeling done well with love, and our commitments to you and your home convey that love and spell our name. The Chad's experience is structured to provide excellent communication, honesty, accuracy, detailed proposals, and satisfied customers. We're also committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. If you want a quality remodel and a quality remodeling experience, go to chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more.
Is sedition punishable by death? No. Sedition is not punishable by death under U.S. law. The federal crime is seditious conspiracy, which applies when people conspire to overthrow the government and carries a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. President Donald Trump claimed on November 20th that seditious behavior is punishable by death, referring to Democratic lawmakers urging service members to disobey illegal orders. His post drew criticism, including from Tammy Baldwin. Historically, sedition-related convictions have resulted in prison terms, not death sentences. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact Briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
Where working people come to talk. It's The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Our guest, Dr. Jonathan Gerko. Johnny, jump in there.
I think there was very little radical about Mamdani. Free buses, for example. I ride the bus. Very few people actually pay the fare today. And you're riding the bus to work or to go to school or to spend your money in a different part of town. Hardly a radical public service.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
From the Madison Common Council to the state capitol, stay informed with Civic.
We have about 10 seconds. It looks like Jamie's mic might have gone astray. So, Brian, looks like it's just you and me.
Welcome back to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Brian Noonan. Jamie Martinson is here, but she's incapacitated at this moment. I'll leave it vague like that. What has happened to Jamie? She's fine. She's good. She's fine. They're just, for the first time ever in the long, illustrious history of this show, 2 weeks, the 11th show, Jamie's having technical issues in the studio. So I am going to take things for a moment, but let me remind you, if you are anywhere within the sound of my voice, you are under a winter weather advisory. It's going on till noon today. It is dangerously cold outside, and I don't use that term lightly. Right now in Madison, for example, it's 5 below zero with a wind chill of 25 below zero. It is the Martin Luther King holiday, so the kids don't have to go to school. You may be off today. If you don't have to go out this morning, try to stay inside where it's warm, and our thoughts with everybody who is outside this morning, whether you're working or the people who are outside. Now, I mentioned before that you may be thinking, oh, the kids are going to be on their screens all day today because they're home from school. Well, that is a constant battle for parents. How much screen time should I give? Screen time is vilified by everybody. Oh, we don't want the kids on the screens because it's just rotting their brains. They're not getting out. They're not touching grass, as the young kids like to say. Boyquarium, is that what the young kids like to say, touching grass?
Yeah, that's what they, yep. And 6'7", touching grass, all the 9 yards.
I don't think you can do them both together. I don't think you can. Yep. You can't. You got to pick. You're 6'7" or you're touching grass. Okay. But anyway, what's going on? Well, a new study has suggested that there may be so-called Goldilocks time frames in which kids face less risk when they use social media. Now, that sounds interesting to parents. My daughter is grown. She can be on the screen as much as she wants. She's an adult. She doesn't live here. I don't know what she does on her computer. But the time frame, this Goldilocks time frame, does not cut out social media use completely, which is good, but suggests there is an amount of time that is just right for kids to use, hence the name Goldilocks. So the study is from Australia. It was published last week in the Journal of American JAMA Pediatrics. It suggests there may be a certain amount of time that can benefit kids and their mental health, and estimates that it is less than 2 hours a day on average. Now, we're talking about social media. So Instagram, what are the kids on? The tick and the talk. They're ticking and talking. I don't think kids use Facebook anymore. That's for the elders to go to go up. But social media we're talking about. So 2 hours a day average, less than 2 hours a day average. How did they come about with this number? Well, they followed 100,000 Australian children and teens in grades 4 through 12 and their social media use, or there were kids who actually were not on social media. They followed them for 3 years. They measured 8 different aspects of their well-being, their happiness, their sadness, their optimism, their worry, and their engagement in school. Researchers said that a high use of social media in the study, they qualified that as more than 2 hours a day. That's, for everybody, that's way too much. On average, they found that moderate use, which is less than 2 hours a day, was the best. Kids who use too much, this is what I found really fascinating. Dom, I'm going to throw this to you in the boy aquarium. I want your guess, and I may have spoiled it already.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think experiences lower levels of well-being? Is it kids who use too much social media or kids who don't use social media at all?
I'm guessing too much social media.
That you would think is the right answer. It is not.
Wow.
Both those groups, if you use too much or if you don't use any social media at all, the same low level of well-being. Because if you listen to the so-called experts, they would say, if your kid's not on social media, that's the best way to go. You don't want them on social media. They're going to feel better about themselves. It's all going to be fantastic. No. You want that 2 hours. 2 hours. Now, you might be saying, well, Brian, what am I going to do? My kids want to be on social media. They want to be influencers. They want to get those big product endorsements. They want to become the next, I don't know who's a big TikTok influencer. I was going to say Kylie Jenner, but she's like so 2016. But who's a big TikTok influencer, Dominic?
Logan Paul and Jake Paul?
Those guys are old school. They're old timers too. Who's a new one? Give me a new kid. New kid on the block.
What about Bryce Hall? You know Bryce Hall?
I don't know Bryce Hall.
He's a boxer. He's a big TikToker, and he's on the up
yeah,
and up.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
I see. Yeah, he's on the upswing. All right. So, what should parents do? Well, here's the deal. According to Dr. Tara Narula, who is the ABC News chief medical correspondent, she told Good Morning America, and that's where all the big news comes from, isn't it? Good Morning America. There's no real age at which it's recommended to let a child start using social media, although a lot of experts will say you should wait until 13. Some even say 16. We know the brain is developing until age 25 in terms of your ability to emotionally regulate, process information, have impulse control, but really each child is different, and that's going to depend on their traits, characteristics, maturity, responsibility, and family values. So parents, how old were you when you got on social media? Because you're a little bit older.
It was early when I was about like 14 or 13. Around
Okay,
there,
all
give or
right.
take.
That seems to be the age. See, that's as an older guy with a grown daughter, I am happy I didn't have to deal with any of that. There was social media around when she was in high school, but she and her friends didn't really get into it. So parents should start an open, non-judgmental discussion, which good for you if you can get that done, with their children about social media. You set rules and boundaries when necessary. So you can also friend your kid and kind of keep tabs on them that way. Just make sure they don't have some other accounts with crazy names and hyphens and symbols and all sorts of things. But there you go. That's the Goldilocks. Less than 2 hours a day for your kids on social media, and that's perfect. When we come back, it is MLK Day. We're going to be joined by Robert Biko Baker. He's a professor of African and African Diaspora Studies. I'm Brian Noonan. Jamie Martinson will be back. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. More protests in Minnesota over ICE operations.
Go home. We don't want you here. That's from my protection. You can change your
There may be
mind.
more on the way. The FBI now reportedly asking agents across the country to volunteer to travel to Minneapolis, and the Pentagon putting hundreds of troops on notice that they could be headed there as well. Leaders of European countries plan to meet this week to discuss what to do next, with President Trump stepping up the pressure to acquire Greenland. The president now threatening a 10% tariff on European countries to try to block it. Retired General and former U.S. Ambassador to NATO Doug Lute warns this break with allies over Greenland could affect the U.S. efforts to end the war in Ukraine.
There's a fundamental connection here about American commitment and whether what we say is what we will do.
Prince Harry leading a group of celebrities in a lawsuit against the British tabloid The Daily Mail over what they say are invasions of privacy. Harry in court in London now. This is ABC News.
From the Capitol to your kitchen table, Madison's biggest stories live right here on 92.7 WMDX.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Incarcerated Wisconsinites could get better access to hygiene products under new proposals. Lisa Hale reports.
Legislation at the state capitol would prevent markups on basic items like shampoo, soap, lotion, and toothpaste inside of Wisconsin's prisons and county jails. And they'll give inmates a basic stipend to buy those items each month while giving a wider range of menstrual products for free. The bills were introduced 2 years ago and didn't make it through the session then.
The bills had a hearing with some bipartisan support. Meanwhile, some Republican lawmakers have been circulating a proposal that would open the roads to driverless vehicles. The legislation would establish an autonomous driving safety board and permitting process for driverless cars.
Hello, Biko.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Morning, Biko. I'm Brian. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Brian.
Jamie's having some mic problems at the moment, but we're trying to get it fixed right away.
Nice to meet you, Jamie.
I don't think she can hear.
She's.
Well, nice to meet you. I appreciate you for having me.
No, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad it's not me this time who is causing the technical difficulties. I can't believe it's happening in the actual studio.
Oh.
Oh, what's going on, Parker? Why are you whispering? How is it in Milwaukee this morning? Freezing like everywhere else?
Yeah, I woke up. My front door was open, so I stepped into our living room. It was freezing.
Oh my God! How'd your front door end up being open?
I have a teenage son, so ain't no telling. Yeah, but how about you? Where are you based? Madison?
I'm in the southwest suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
And it's just as cold here.
Okay, is that like by Harvey?
A little further north. I'm in Palos Park. So I grew up in Glenwood, which is just south of Harvey. So, Harvey's starts about 159th Street, and I grew up at 187th Street. So very close to Harvey.
Okay.
Right down Halstead. But, I was on in Milwaukee for a long time at TMJ, and I would commute. And then this happened very quickly, so that's why I'm doing the show at home now. And, since we're on the whole network, it's like, okay, well, doesn't matter where we are.
Right. You be where you're at.
Exactly. The commute is much better. than when I was driving up to Milwaukee every day.
I know that's right. You got to get through the whole north side and our south side, and then the north side again.
Well, that's it. It was
because TMJ's on Capitol, right?
No, it used to be on Capitol. Now it's down. Now it's downtown, right by Fiserv Forum. So that was a nice part. When it was on Capitol, having to go through the city was a little rough. But that south side from about I don't know, not too far out, almost from 7 Mile up, it's just crazy. But traffic's bad everywhere. So
yeah, definitely is bad everywhere.
Dominic, you got any sort of update? You want to keep us?
I'm gonna keep you updated. Right now, still nothing. We're gonna try and transport Jamie to the other studios because it looks like the whole thing got totally shot. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Yep.
That's all right.
We good? We got about 15 seconds.
All right. Well,
let's do this thing.
So you saw my note. I'll come back, do the weather real quick.
Yep. Okay. Let's do it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Brian Noonan. Jamie Martinson will be back with us in just a couple of moments. There seems to be a little issue in the Civic Media studios, but fear not if you are anywhere on the network, whether it is in Appleton and Oshkosh at WISS, Wausau on WXCO, WRCE in Richland Center 93.5 in Eau Claire. Why am I saying all the station names, especially WBZH in Hayward? Because everywhere that you are listening to me, including Madison, you are under a severe weather advisory and a winter weather advisory. 2 advisories in effect until noon today for frigid temperatures. If you are not needed outside, it's probably safer to stay in Madison right now. It is 5 below zero, and it feels like 25 below zero. Today, if you don't know, I don't know why you're not paying attention. Today is Martin Luther King Day, the day to honor the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Let's hear a little of Dr. King's own words from 1964. 67.
I knew that I could never again raise my voice against the violence of the oppressed in the ghettos without having first spoken clearly to the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today, my own government.
That message resonates today more than we wished it should. We're joined now by Robert Biko Baker. He is a professor of African and African diaspora studies at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. He is also a Civic Media teammate. He's the station manager at WNOV in Milwaukee. Biko, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me on this cold, frigid morning.
I know. Well, we'll get some hot talk going if I could sound like a jive DJ for a minute. You heard that quote from Dr. King. And how, I guess, disappointing must it be to realize that was in 1967. In 2026, that message resonates more than we all hope it should. Yeah. That we have to speak out against the government.
Yeah, Martin Luther King was a complicated person. You know, at the time of his death, it's hard for us to imagine now, but most Americans didn't like him. He was very controversial. He was very complicated. And he had these speeches towards the end of his life, like the Beyond Vietnam speech, where he talks about the violence that America is perpetrating in foreign nations. And so today we think of him as I Have a Dream, these black and white images, but he was very complicated and very critical of the United States.
Do you think that has a lot to do with, he was targeted not only by the administration, but by the FBI. There were constant investigations, a smear campaign against him. And just like today, if people aren't in these major metropolitan areas, they're hearing these messages, and that's the picture that they were able to paint of Dr. King.
Yeah, that today we think of deep fakes or these AI slop smear campaigns that we can't get off of our phone. But, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King was one of the first people that was heavily targeted by the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover at the level that he was. And it's difficult because he didn't have the privacy that, many of us have today. Wherever he went, people watched. He was always being watched by the media. And so, yeah, I think part of it was the fact that the government was trying to smear his name. They called him a communist. They called him all types of names, but he was just a preacher from the South who wanted to do better in the United States.
Well, Biko, for you, who is not only a professor of studies, but a man of color, what is your personal feeling on this day?
Well, today is one of those weird days for me because I worked very closely with a man by the name of Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte actually paid for Dr. King's funeral. I was Harry Belafonte's staff member for almost 20 years with his family as well. And, he told us that Martin Luther King, towards the end of his life, told him that they were integrating into a burning house. So on one hand, I have this prophetic wisdom. I have the dream speech that Martin Luther King is in our head, but then I have this story that Mr. B told us about Martin Luther King's concern of where America was heading because of Vietnam and industrialization, post-industrialization. And so, I wake up happy to celebrate his memory, but also work very hard to tell the truth about this great prophet that we had in the United States.
What part of that great truth would surprise people who have a cursory knowledge? We all learned about Dr. King in school. We hear about him not only at other times, but especially today on Martin Luther King Day. What would surprise people, do you think, or maybe shock them?
I think the one thing that would perhaps surprise them was, because it's difficult for us today, we don't talk about it, but he was deeply fighting for poor people. Towards the end of his life, he had this Poor People's Campaign, which he was trying to go around the South to make sure that, the children of sharecroppers and sharecroppers themselves had access to food, clothing, and shelter. And he was determined to fight for this level of equality. And today we talk about affordability. He was at the forefront of that 60 years ago.
Jamie is back. Welcome back. Glad to have you.
Thank you. We had to move some studios and do some things thanks to the Boy Aquarium. But I was able to join back in the conversation. So I'm so glad to be a part of this. So I'm glad we were able to get things working. But Biko, I do have to ask, for some of the younger generations, and I just caught the tail end. So if this has already been asked, please forgive me. What should Martin Luther King Day be about? Is it more of a day, do you think, of remembrance, service? Is it more about protest, the education? Or do you think there's something much bigger to all of it that we need to keep in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think about that a lot because now I'm towards the end of my life, unfortunately, at the middle part, I guess. And, Martin Luther King, I think, would have been like 97 right now. So perhaps he still would have been alive to share what he wanted us to do. But I think it's all about where you're at in the political spectrum. If you're an activist, get active. If you're a protester, get out there and protest. If you're someone who's excited about building the beloved community through love and the cherishing of our neighbor, you should do that. That's the thing. The beautiful thing about Martin Luther King, when he gets involved in the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955, by the time he dies 13 years later in 1968, he's a completely different person. And that's because he was on this path. He really believed that by walking, people made the path. And I really think that we can't wait. We got to walk towards whatever future we feel is better than the one we have now.
So we're about 60 years since Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis. Biko, as you look at this and as you study this, and Biko Baker is our guest. He's a professor of African and African diaspora studies at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. He's also the station manager at Civic Media's station WNOV in Milwaukee. As you look at the dream 60 years after Dr. King's assassination, where does that dream stand at this point?
Yeah, I think the dream is such a powerful speech. He's given this speech at the March on Washington, and he had another speech in mind. People don't know this, but Martin Luther King was an intellectual. He was sort of a big talker, and he has couple 100,000 people in front of him, and someone behind him, tells him, "Hey, man, you're losing the crowd. Give him the dream speech. Tell him about the dream." and so he goes back to the speech he had given in Detroit a few weeks later, and he talks about the content of character.
Right.
And one thing is very powerful to me when I talk to Gen Zs, they are so walking King's dream when it comes to the content of character and, racial things. Like, it matters to them, but not in the same way it did to me in the 80s and 90s. And
how is it different?
I think they see race in a different way. I think it's less a separate thing, intuitively than it was even 20, 30 years ago. And I don't know if that's because of Barack Obama. I don't know if it's because we're all on TikTok or Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook, but younger people, including white students in my class who are from Upper Wisconsin, do not operate with the same animus naturally that I think was there when I was trying to survive Milwaukee in the 80s and 90s. And I think if there's anything we've gotten from Dr. Martin Luther King, it may be that.
Biko, if Dr. King were alive today, right, and we've watched the history, what do you think he would be urging us to confront right now? I mean, we live in some really crazy times, and I don't know if even he could envision, as big of a thinker as he was, what we're facing right now. What would he want us to? What would he be urging us to do? What would be some of the big issues he'd be pushing for us to look at and peacefully protest against?
I think you hit it right on the head, Jamie, when you said peacefully protest. I think that he would definitely be concerned about what he's seeing with immigrants and just the brutality that we're seeing. And, some people talk about the numbers of the Obama administration and how they're similar to Trump's. And so I don't want to get into the details of the numbers, but What I do think is the meanness that we're seeing on the internet. And the thing, though, he would say he would warn us about rushing to the front line with anger and sort of reactionary behaviors. I don't think he would like to see protesters who are throwing bottles or running up on cops or ICE agents with anger. The nonviolent movement or the passive resistance movement, today we might think of as a soft thing where people are really, turning the other cheek. Our elders and ancestors were walking to the front lines, turning the other cheek to put an image on the folks that they felt were doing bad, the bad guys. And if you can hold the moral authority, if you can stand there with love and grace as your enemy is attacking you, that has a powerful shift. And I worry about young people, particularly, or people who haven't studied King, who think he was weak because he was in the love and resistance. And I'm definitely worried about protesters who show up reactionary in anger. And I think we're getting there. It's hard not to be there. I understand our neighbors are getting snatched up, but I think he would be concerned about that.
Well, Biko, Dr. King's daughter, Bernice, came out the other day, Reverend Bernice King, and said that this day, Martin Luther King Day, is somewhat of a saving grace in this political climate where there's so much division, so much upheaval. She said she thinks it inserts a sense of sanity and morality into our troubling debate. Do you agree with that? And why is today, other than just honoring a great leader, why is today so important?
That's a really good question. And I think part of the reason why honoring King is so important is because it shows us how far we've come as a country and a society. I think it's difficult, particularly for younger people, to understand how far the United States has come. And I know at times it feels like we're getting pushed back.
Yeah.
But times have changed, and you could look at the old black and white footage of black performers performing in front of white teens, and they didn't know that they were black when they got to the hall. And so it shows us the power of our ability to progress, and we have a lot more to go, a lot more places to be, but I feel like it's a good milestone for us as a country.
Well, Biko, we appreciate you being here today, and have a restful and warm Martin Luther King Day. Robert Biko Baker is a professor of African and African Diaspora Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. He is the station manager at WNOV Milwaukee, a Civic Media co-worker and colleague, and we got to meet online. Isn't that fun? Biko, thanks a lot. Jamie, we got a lot more to cover as we get going.
We do, and we're going to talk a little bit about Governor Evers. He's preparing for ICE, so we'll discuss that when we come back. It is 7:19 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
MDX, because you can't solve everything with yoga.
Get the drill out of my face. Hey, no one wants to get their teeth drilled at the dentist, right? That's why I stopped. This is Dr. Chris Kammer from Victorious Dental. When you can heal cavities with brush-on medicine, why would you ever want to amputate tooth structure with a dental drill? There are no dental drills at Victorious Dental, and no shots either. Don't need them. For a kinder, more humane healing experience at the dentist, reach out to Victorious Dental at thedrillisgone.com.
Transform your bathroom with the beautiful quality of Bath Planet. Bath Planet has earned the Good Housekeeping Seal, a symbol of quality and consumer confidence for over 100 years. And right now, for a limited time, you can upgrade your bathroom for 50% off installation or choose 18 months with no interest and no payments. But you need to call now. This special offer is only available by calling 800-329-4115. That's 800-329-4115. Call 800-329-4115 right now before the offer ends.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Captid Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
When a person calls 988, they're connected to a crisis counselor.
A caller can expect to talk about coping skills.
They can chat.
15 seconds.
It's 7:22 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. Stay warm. Hey, here's good news. It got colder in Madison since we spoke last time, because Madison and our entire network listening area is under 2 warnings: a winter weather advisory and a severe weather advisory until noon. It is now 6 below zero in Madison with a wind chill of 26 below.
No.
These are numbers that, listen,
No.
these numbers make as much sense
No.
in this day and age as
No.
everything else that's going on
No.
in the country. It
No.
does. Jamie,
No.
listen. We're living in some sort of crazy, bizarro world.
We are.
So why not have temperatures that make you just go, how can we even measure 25 below zero? That's zero, which is nothing, and then this is less than nothing. But
this is certainly less than nothing.
It
It's
is
been a
less
less
than-
than nothing kind of morning here in Madison.
Yeah, you're for people who are on the stream and watching, they're like, Jamie's not in the same room. No, it looks like you've been moved to a dark closet somewhere. Are you okay?
It's pretty much what we're
is the
in.
boy aquarium holding you hostage
I've got one
somewhere?
of the boy aquarium with me. You've got another boy aquarium with you. Parker's with me in another studio. We are
I
in
didn't
a
even
dark
know
closet.
we had another studio up there.
We're in a dark closet.
We have long called this the coat closet. Yes.
That's essentially what it
Wow.
is. But it worked, and
back.
it's to our advantage today, because otherwise it'd be me joining you through the service that we use called StreamYard with a microphone attached to my computer, and so at least we have some professional.
No, you sound great, and we're glad you made
Good,
it back, because listen, preparations are ongoing and actively happening here in Wisconsin, according to Governor Evers. He says, hey, don't worry. Don't worry. I know last week he was the lieutenant governor was on with us, and if you haven't seen that, you can go to the Civic Media. You can see it on TikTok. You can see it on YouTube. Whatever. She had a plan for preparing for ice, and the governor was like, "Well, maybe we shouldn't." But the governor now says, "No. Listen, we're actively preparing for a possible increase in ice activity in Wisconsin, similar to Minnesota. Especially, there's been a lot of talk in the northwest part of the state in Eau Claire about people being a little nervous up there because things are rolling over."
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the lieutenant governor's plan. It doesn't sound like Governor Evers is still really on board with some of the things that she had in her plan.
Correct.
For reasons, though, right? He acknowledges the ongoing tension with the Trump administration and said that the concerns extend nationwide, saying that this is a 50-state thing, not necessarily just a Minnesota, not just a Wisconsin thing. But again, he also, and we kind of alluded to this last week when the lieutenant governor joined us, we talked about the fact that Governor Evers has had his tensions with not only the GOP state legislature, but also just the Trump administration. And I think he's trying to avoid that for everybody throughout the state, any sort of those tensions. But you're right. When you look at the areas that border Minnesota, Hudson, Wisconsin, Eau Claire, they are definitely ramping up what they're doing. And in fact, the Eau Claire City Council president says that in Eau Claire, the situation very much right now feels like a, quote, pressure cooker. Educators and advocates are reporting widespread fear in Hudson and in the Eau Claire area, including among school children. Some residents worry about being targeted regardless of their legal status. And in fact, some of the school districts, like Hudson, have reviewed policies and also reiterated that student information cannot be shared without some sort of judicial warrant. So, and then you also have to look at the fact that Governor Evers is trying to protect tribe members right now, too, Brian.
Sure. Yes, because there's been reports from Minneapolis of some Native Americans who were taken by ICE. No word on where they're being held or anything. Right. And, I understand that the governor represents all of Wisconsin, and as well he should, and he should take everybody's needs into account. And there are a lot of people in Wisconsin who voted for this administration and are in favor of what's happening. So the governor has to look out for them as well. Mm-hmm. The problem is capitulation to this administration does not garner favoritism as logic would dictate it should. Just because you do what this administration seems to want at this moment in time does not guarantee that you are not going to suffer the effects that other states, other cities are suffering. So the governor has to walk that line between, all right, I need to represent the needs of all Wisconsinites, yes, no matter what side of the political spectrum they're on, because ideally that's what all our leaders should do, and saying, listen, we are not going to put up with this in Wisconsin. You are not going to be allowed to just come in here and run wild in our streets like you're trying to do in other places. So it's an unenviable position. It's a position you put yourself in, so I have no sympathy for Governor Evers or any elected official, because that's the job. Yep. You know what? You signed up for it. But it doesn't make it an easy job. No. And I think based on, you quoted some polls earlier in the show, which of course we always take with a grain of salt.
Sure, absolutely.
And those were regarding Greenland, but there's also a lot of polling that a majority of Americans think ICE has gone too far. Yeah. So I don't think the governor would be off.
Those polls are a little bit more politically divided, right?
Sure.
Obviously, Republicans believe that what is happening is for the best. When you look at those, Democrats and independents are a little bit more apt to say this is beyond the pale. This is more than we can possibly expect. This is more than what should be happening right now. There was a couple tidbits of things that I thought were interesting from what Evers was saying too. He mentioned that he's been in regular contact with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Wisconsin has not been asked for assistance, but the Wisconsin National Guard is ready if needed. Okay. And also there's been a lot of rumors of ICE activity throughout the state of Wisconsin being spread online, because we know how social media. I heard that the block you were doing there when I wasn't able to join about social media.
Sure.
We've heard that there's a lot of activity online. Officials say many of those reports are false, though. So take them with a grain of salt and call your local police force in law enforcement. So these conversations are not going anywhere. And hey, you know what? Neither is Caroline Levitt. She's tormenting the press. So we're going to get into that. 7:29 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan, and this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
92.7 WMDX. Talk radio with more bike lanes. Your neighbors are talking. Leaders are deciding. Madison's story unfolds daily on 92.7 WMDX.
Immigration enforcement in the Twin Cities has put the antenna up on a lot of Wisconsin agribusinesses and farms. I'm Pam Yankee with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Martin Luther King Monday. What do farms and agribusinesses need to think about to keep their employees safe? That's next.
Before it's too late and white mold becomes a problem, you need to ask your seed dealer for Heads Up seed treatment. When raising soybeans in the Midwest, you know the risk of being caught unprepared. As heard on Ag PhD, there are several steps you can take prior to planting for a successful management plan against white mold. Compatible and cost-effective season-long protection starts now by asking your seed dealer to apply Heads Up to your bean seed order. For more information, visit headsupst.com.
Double check your paperwork. That is the advice of Sam Mohaban, an immigration attorney with Rooterware out of Wausau, Wisconsin. He said, regardless of the number of employees you have, double check your paperwork now.
You know, no matter what industry you're in right now, if you're employing people in the United States, you have I-9 compliance issues. And if you don't know that your I-9 files are completely in order, now is the time to do it. There's a defense that may limit any fines imposed or liability if you do show good faith compliance. One way of doing that, right, is by having good training policies and doing self audits. Because if you get one from the government, you're only going to have likely 72 hours to respond.
Sam Mohaban, he's an immigration attorney with Rutterware out of Wausau. He says, if you're worried about immigration officials coming to your farm, the best thing to do, post signs alerting them that this is private property and directing them to a central location where one of your staff will be able to aid them in whatever they're looking for.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
We know you work hard every day to keep your livestock healthy and run an efficient operation because there's no such thing as a snow day. Take time this winter and consider BioVet, your trusted partner in helping you raise stronger, healthier animals and to protect your bottom line. The knowledge and support from our team can help you make the difference in keeping your livestock healthy. Call 1-800-BioVet1 or visit bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
And the World Champion Cheese event is coming back to Wisconsin March 3rd and 4th at the Monona Terrace Convention Center in Madison. The general public's invited to come on by and watch the judging, as well as enjoy free cheese samples. Find more at worldchampioncheese.org. This agribusiness update brought to you by Rural Mutual Insurance. Wisconsin only and Wisconsin strong. Find your local insurance agent at ruralmutual.com. Just a quick food news update on a Martin Luther King Monday. I'm Farm Director Pam Yankee.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
Some areas of blowing snow right away this morning, becoming mostly sunny this afternoon. Our high today 4 above, but that wind west at 10 to 20 is going to keep the wind chill below zero all day. Tonight, partly cloudy, 4 below. Tomorrow, sunshine with a high right around 12. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it's 3 below.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Join me, Tom Hartman, each and every weekday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program right here on Civic Media. I talk about the issues that all Wisconsinites can get behind, from unrigging our economy so it works for all of us, not just the billionaire class, to improving our representative government, to delivering on the promise of we the people. Tune in middays right here on your local Civic Media station from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Hartman program. Tag, you're it.
15 seconds.
It's 7:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Civic Media Mornings, and a very cold start to this Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We are talking about a cold weather advisory through noon affecting the areas of Green Bay, Madison, Milwaukee. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Yes, it's -6 in Madison, -25.
Yeah, I knew you were keeping tabs. I was going to let you
I
give
am
the bad
keeping
news.
Tabs. I am the harbinger of doom on this Monday. I bring all the bad news.
I'm going to bring even more bad news. As cold as it is this morning, this is actually not as cold as it might be by the end of the week. We
All right,
have more
you
cold
win,
air
Jimmy.
coming in. I know. Just preparing the nice people listening this morning. That's all I'm trying to do.
My poor Nissan Sentra is just not going to go well in this
I
week.
forgot that the boy aquarium was separated. I was like, wait, where did that voice come from?
The voice of God.
It's
We're
it's the
everywhere,
voice of God.
Jamie.
The boy aquarium has now taken on the specter state, and
That's right.
they
That
are
was
they
very
are everywhere.
strange.
They're omniscient. They're omnipresent.
That
They're all
scared
the
me for a
omnis.
second.
Do you have to put a warming blanket on your engine block? We used to have to do that with the
Plug 'em
electric
in?
dipstick. Remember the electric dipsticks? Yeah.
You had to plug them in. I remember plugging in cars when I was growing up. Every winter, you got the plug, and there was an extension cord that ran from the car up to the house, and
Yep.
Dad would have it all ready so you didn't accidentally hit it with the shovel or the snow blower, and it was a thing.
There you go.
And Boy Aquarium's looking at us like we've lost our minds.
Plug
All
in
right.
your car. I
You
didn't
gotta
know you had
plug in your
electric
car.
back then.
We were very ahead of our time, Parker. We were very cutting edge back in the day.
We were.
We buried it. The big auto killed it.
That's right.
Yeah, you know,
That's
big
right.
auto.
That
You
was
know what else?
1980s Oldsmobiles.
That's right. Get the Rambler and plug it in, Marge. We got
right.
things to do.
That's right.
You know,
Gotta
one
get
of
to
the
town.
one of the things this administration is trying to do is kill the media, because once you control the media, you control the message. And I know before we start this, there are going to be people who go, the media is always biased and it's all fake news and blah, blah, blah. And nobody's going to deny, well, I'm not going to deny, other people might, that yes, some networks and some media outlets do have a certain lean. That goes both ways. There are definitely conservative-leaning media outlets. There are more liberal-leaning media outlets. There are some outlets like AP that try to tell it right down the line with nothing. It doesn't matter who those outlets are, unless they are a hardcore conservative outlet. This administration is doing everything it can to belittle and just make them seem less than, like they are not real journalists. We are going to disparage every dissenting voice until there are no more dissenting voices. And just guess what? Caroline Leavitt did it just the other day. And CBS, poor Walter Cronkite, he must be spinning in his grave like he's on a spit somewhere, because CBS
This is not the CBS we know from the days we were plugging in our cars. Let's go back to that
or
conversation.
even from like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. So if you didn't hear what happened this weekend, right? This story broke, I think, yesterday morning. That's when I first started seeing it. But Caroline Leavitt, of course, White House press secretary, was recorded actually warning CBS News that the Trump administration would sue the network if a recent interview with the president was not aired in full and without edits. Now, this audio was first reported by the New York Times, and you can... Anyway, let's play cut 2.
Yeah, let's let him hear it.
Cut 2.
He went right at Ellen. Hey. Make sure you guys please don't cut the tape. Make sure the interview is out in full.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah.
He said if it's not out in full, we'll shoot your off. Oh, great. Okay.
He always says that. I think that went.
We only have 19 minutes and 30 seconds, so 13 minutes.
How long did we talk?
The whole thing will be out. Yeah, the whole thing will be out.
All right, so this exchange actually occurred after Tony Dokopil conducted this 13-minute exclusive interview with the president, which aired Tuesday in full. So CBS actually aired the interview months after its parent company, Paramount, and this is where it all gets kind of hinky, right? Because I don't know what other word to use at this point. This all came about after Paramount actually agreed to pay Trump $16 million to settle a lawsuit over the editing of a separate 60 Minutes interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris right before the 2024 election.
That was where this whole problem started, when they gave in.
Yes, absolutely. So this incident comes during all of the current scrutiny of CBS News' editorial independence under editor-in-chief Bari Weiss, who took the role in October. And of course, she has faced a ton of criticism for perceived deference to the Trump administration. Now, if you don't know, CBS is owned by Paramount Skydance. And again, this is where it gets complicated, right?
Follow the trail, follow the money.
Right. So Paramount Skydance was founded by a gentleman by the name of David Ellison, whose father, Oracle founder Larry Ellison, is a known Trump ally. Paramount Skydance also acquired Wise's media company, The Free Press, just last year. Coincidence?
Yeah, it's if this doesn't scare you, either you're convinced that all media is corrupt and delivering fake news, or you're not paying attention. Because once a government controls the media, that is where any sort of dissent, any sort of protest, any sort of calling out the emperor for having no clothes, that disappears. And for better or worse, this country has always had the ability to speak to power. And whether it's the media or whether it's you and I, we have the right and the ability to say what we want and disagree with the government. Once the media is taken out of this equation, we'll be taken out of the equation next. And the only information you will get will come from Caroline Leavitt or whoever takes her place down the road, whatever. And this should be, and listen, I'm not trying to sow panic. I'm not being sensationalistic. Again, go back and read history and find the parallels. I'm not telling you who they parallel. I'm not giving you anything other than a little bit of homework to make an informed choice and an informed decision.
And let me be clear on this. I've worked in media a really long time, right? So editing interviews for time and clarity is standard practice in television journalism, right?
And always has been.
That's right. For anybody who does not think that is a thing, it absolutely happens, again, for time and clarity. The concern raised by what's happening here isn't so much about the transparency, because full interviews are often welcomed by news organizations. It's whether this threat of litigation is being used to shape the coverage. And that's exactly what's happening. When the White House signals that lawsuits could follow routine editorial decisions, that's a chilling effect that goes beyond just a single network. Forget CBS. Then you have to look at all of them. And then you have to start asking the question, isn't this what we see in countries like China and Russia? And again, not trying to sensationalize, but let's look at the democratic process for what it is in those countries. It's not. People are given the message that the government wants them to hear, and that's essentially what we're seeing potentially happen here. Now, do we have Dick on the phone? So let's go to Dick. He's got some comments about this. Dick, are you there?
Well, yeah. Don't you find it a little bit strange, too? They want that in its entirety, but yet I'm being told now that any unflattering moments like when he's falling asleep during meetings, now that's supposed to be edited out from now on. We're morphing towards state-sponsored news, period, just like his buddy Putin has.
And it's a scary thing. And Dick, we appreciate the call. It is, even to the point where Christy Noem yesterday on the Sunday show said that we shouldn't mention the name of the ICE agent who murdered Renee Good. And we don't need to mention his name. And
why? That's my question. Why?
Because why should he have to bear the responsibility and be doxxed and have his life turned upside down, unlike her family, which is now being investigated because she had the audacity to get murdered.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the ability to threaten a lawsuit. And this goes back to a point I made earlier, where capitulation does not guarantee any sort of favoritism or loyalty. All these networks that paid him off when he filed these frivolous lawsuits, that all the courts and the networks themselves, CBS said we could have won this lawsuit, but it would have taken a while, and it would have caused a rift between us and the White House. Well, guess what? Now you're a toady, and you've become an arm of the White House, and other networks have fallen into the same thing. And I know people don't want to hear this. They don't want to believe it. Oh no, you're just mad because the president wanted his interview unedited. Well, then you do a live interview that they can edit. But Jamie's point is absolutely correct. If you don't think that everything that you've ever seen on the evening news or 60 Minutes or any news show has not been edited, then you're really naive.
Yes, absolutely.
And the other thing that bothers me, Jamie, and I know people have to keep their access, and that's why I'm not a political reporter, because I don't care about keeping my access. A reporter from The Hill, who is from Ireland, dared to speak up to Caroline Levitt the other day, and she went off on him like nobody's business, because that's her job as a misinformation attack dog. Let's hear cut 3.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Okay. So, by the way, that gentleman's name is Niall Stanage. And here's what I'm going to say. Never test an Irish reporter, right? Because these are reporters who have seen everything.
Yes.
Absolutely everything. And then to sit there and accuse them of being a left-wing hack. Oh, my gosh.
Posing as a journalist. I will say, the only good thing I could say about Caroline Levitt is, man, she was hired to do a job, and that woman will do that job.
She can do a job.
And she turns a attack dog in a second. And if you listen, it's the same as belittling that she does to everybody, whether it's CNN or anybody but Fox or another right-wing media outlet.
They have their lines. They have their rehearsed lines that they follow through and through every time they are put in these situations. And good for Stanage for asking 100%. The question and coming with the facts.
And then following up.
Yes.
And bringing it up and not being afraid. And I think all journalists need to do that. They need to really stand up and back each other up and try to get to the facts.
Real journalism at its best. That's what you saw there. All right. We're going to talk cookies in just a moment because it's my favorite time.
Why? What happened? What happened horrible with cookies?
Nothing. They're fantastic, and I can't wait to talk about them. It's 7:48 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan on the Civic Media Radio Network.
And beyond the headlines. 92.7 FM WMDX is where Wisconsin turns for real news and great conversation.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
Looking to strengthen the bond with your pup? Dane County Humane Society offers a variety of dog training classes led by certified trainers. Classes are designed to help you and your furry friend learn new skills, improve behavior, and deepen your connection. Whether your dog is a curious puppy, an independent teenager, or a lifelong learner, DCHS has the tools and expertise to help you set the stage for a successful year ahead. Visit giveshelter.org/dog training to register today.
This is Robert Pilot, host of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we talk about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
Listen, retirement is the long game. We can't play about our future or our finances. Let's put ourselves in the right position.
Start building your retirement plan at thisispretirement.org. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Construction barrels bloom every spring. So do opinions.
15 seconds.
$7:52 right now. Thank you so much for listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Got to do a little shout out to our markets across the state. WXCO in Wausau. Thank you so much for having us on this morning. Also, 93.5 The Tap in Eau Claire. And of course, if you're listening on WMDX in Madison, we are glad that you're here this morning. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Stay warm. Remember also, no mail today. The banks are closed. It is a federal holiday for Martin Luther King Day. So if you, as our guest earlier, Biko Baker said, if you're, whatever you do to be engaged in your community, try to do that today. But see if you can do it from indoors. See if you can do it remotely.
Yes.
Maybe
Yes.
get, and kudos to the people who are outside protesting. Doesn't matter what the weather is in Minneapolis and everywhere else that are protesting. Stay peaceful, stay warm, stay loud, and there you go. Now, we have spent an hour and 53 minutes projecting doom, gloom, pointing out the craziness that we are living in.
We really are nice people who really enjoy life.
I love
We really
life.
do. I know, right?
Just not in this particular moment in time. I'm having
hard.
trouble accepting what's going on, but that doesn't mean that I'm not happy. But what would make me happier, Jamie, is a cookie. Is there anywhere I could get a cookie?
Oh, cookies make me exceptionally happy. And
I
yes,
want to get a cookie.
Girl Scouts USA is selling their cookies.
Yay.
And this is my favorite time of year, Girl Scout cookie season. And they've added a new cookie to their lineup this year, which is really exciting. Explore More's. Explore More's. This is a Rocky Road ice cream inspired sandwich cookie. And by the way, Rocky Road, my all-time favorite ice cream. So this is something I have to try. It's got to have the marshmallow swirls, not the little marshmallow chunks, though, because nobody wants to feel like they're eating a marshmallow rock. Anyway, I digress. They say that
Very
Explore
particular about your frozen treats.
Swirls, people. I lost 175 pounds. Yes, I'm particular about my sweets.
I don't blame
at
you.
any rate, they say that it reflects the spirit of exploration at the heart of every Girl Scout. And proceeds from each box of Girl Scout cookie that's sold, if you don't know this, including the Explore More's, stays with the local troops and all of the local councils so that they can fund programs and experiences and learning throughout the year. Now, I have to ask you,
Yes.
are you a Girl Scout cookie fan? Do you have a favorite? We got to chime in here because we all love a good Girl Scout
How
cookie.
do we do that? How do we chime in?
Well, you can chime in by calling us or texting us, 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. So what is your favorite cookie, Brian?
It's got to be the Samoa, followed very closely by the Do-si-do, which is the peanut butter sandwich. Those are the top two. And I took Thin Mint out of the equation because I believe Thin Mint is pretty much on everybody's Mount Rushmore of Girl Scout cookies.
Yes.
So that one I didn't vote for. The Samoas I love. And
I love coconut.
I do too. And coconut, the caramel, the chocolate. And I also use it to infuriate my wife because I call them Samoans. And that's not the name. I say it is to me. And then I down a sleeve of them.
Of course. That's how you must eat a Girl Scout cookie.
Oh, you can't, if you eat one Girl Scout cookie, you're a serial killer. There's something wrong with you. You have a mental defect.
Yes, our senior producer, Frank, chiming in. He says that tag-alongs are his favorite Girl Scout cookie. So now I think those are good as well. We got to go to the boy aquarium. So I'm sitting across from Parker. Parker, what is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
I mean, I like those peanut butter sandwiches. I'm eyeing up this, what is it, caramel chocolate chip?
Ooh, that sounds
we got
good.
in the notes here. That sounds very good.
All right.
That looks like a good one, too.
Those look amazing. Dom, back there in the original boy aquarium.
I got to go with Frank here. I got to say the tag-alongs are to die for. I love those patties. I love peanut butter. I can't go wrong with any peanut butter.
That checks. I know it's Thin Mints are on everybody's Mount Rushmore, as you referred to, Brian, but I will always say a Thin Mint because I love a good Thin Mint.
Oh, yeah,
and
no shade at Thin Mints.
Nice hint of mint, not overpowering like I'm sucking on, toothpaste. So which is what I appreciate about a Thin Mint.
God, all right.
And then sometimes the mint gets too much.
I understand, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
And
I've never sucked on toothpaste, so I don't know, but I believe you.
Some mint is too much. And then, of course, I will also always go with the Samoas because of my love of caramel and coconut and all things chocolate.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
That's the cookie. So the Girl Scouts, they do a great job. And I don't want to hear, listen, old man like me, don't go, well, I remember the girl boxes are very small now and you don't get it. Yeah, go around the country. Everything is more expensive now. Everything is a little smaller than it used to be. You're helping out a good cause and you're having a good time. So maybe you don't know a Girl Scout. How am I going to get cookies? Well, it's easy. Go to girlscoutcookies.org, sign up, and you'll be notified when cookies go on sale in your area. You can also use the Cookie Finder.
There's a cookie finder?
There's a cookie finder.
Oh, my gosh.
Or just contact your local Girl Scout council for more information. And the reason some of these cookies have two different names is because there are two bakeries in the country that make the Girl Scout cookies. And so they call them different things, the two different bakeries. But they're all basically the same Girl Scout cookie using the same recipe. They just have different names contractually because of all that. So it's and there's some now There's some that I haven't had that I'm looking for. Parker mentioned the caramel chocolate chip, which is a chewy cookie, which I'm not a fan of chewy cookies, but
okay, you like the hard crispies.
I like them crispies.
I like it. That
Rich
works.
caramel, semi-sweet chocolate, and a hint of sea salt. And then this Adventurefuls.
I was just looking at that. That sounds like something Yeah, this sounds like something I would definitely want to explore. I mean, let's be realistic. If you put a cookie in front of my face, I'm not saying no.
Yeah. What am I going to do? I'm sorry, girls. I can't eat your cookies.
I'm not going to have that cookie.
I'm
no,
watching
not
my
happening.
Figure. Well, we've done it. We finished a Monday
Sort
that
of.
was unparalleled, and we will be back to do it all again tomorrow, right?
We will. It is 7:59. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of the program. We will talk to you again tomorrow on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Thank you so much for listening, socials. Have a great rest of your morning.